Awesome. Well, good morning, everyone. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Velodyne Lidar's WSS webinar mini-series. My name is Pamela Gauci, and I'll be your host today. We only have about 15 minutes, so I'm just going to jump right in here. Joining me today is Bobby Hambrick, founder, president, and CEO at AutonomouStuff, a company that's playing a big role in working to put autonomous vehicles on public roads. AutonomouStuff is also part of Hexagon's autonomy and positioning division. They supply R&D platforms, products, software, and engineering services that help to advance robotics and autonomy systems. Of course, those systems include Velodyne's Lidar sensors. But I'll let Bobby tell you himself about the work AutonomouStuff is currently doing. So now I'd like to introduce today's featured guest, founder, president, and CEO of AutonomouStuff, Bobby Hambrick. Welcome, Bobby.
Hello, everyone.
Now, Bobby, we don't have much time, so I'm going to dive right into some questions. To begin, can you talk a little bit about the work AutonomouStuff is doing today to put autonomous vehicles on public roads?
Yeah, sure, I would love to, and thanks for having me. So AutonomouStuff has continuously evolved and reinvented itself many times throughout the years. And we've traditionally provided all of the hardware components that help provide the individual pieces of technology, including the hardware for perception, like the LiDARs from Velodyne, positioning, processing, by-wire, etc. And we've had to create these very strong relationships in this ecosystem of companies like Velodyne and Novotel and many others. Also by providing software that by the end of the product that we provide the customer, on day one, they're driving autonomously in simple scenarios. But today we continue to do what we traditionally have done, but we are much more sophisticated and entirely focused on not only enabling autonomy, but also accelerating the production deployment of autonomy. And as Velodyne knows very well, providing products intended for mass production is a completely different ballgame. And it's a game that AutonomouStuff and Hexagon are taking very seriously.
Now, and developing autonomous vehicles and putting them on the road requires collaboration within a pretty extensive ecosystem of players. So can you talk a little bit about that ecosystem and what needs to happen within it in order to achieve deployment?
Yeah, sure. Putting mass deployment of autonomous driving systems of any kind on public roads is probably one of the most challenging and complicated engineering challenges of mankind. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of highly sophisticated pieces of technology that need to come together perfectly in order for it to be successful. So there's no single company in the world that's doing this alone. Even Google, Amazon, Uber, the automakers, all of them are investing billions of dollars. They're all utilizing a wide network of partners that are working very, very closely together. It's incredibly sophisticated, but I always say if it was easy, then everyone would do it.
Now, the next question, Bobby, touches on a topic that AutonomouStuff has some experience with, and that's how working with larger companies can help reduce the barriers to deployment. So can you talk about how working with larger companies can help put AVs on the road? And then can you also talk about your firsthand experience working with a larger company like Hexagon?
Yeah, like I said, putting anything on the road is a very serious business, and you can't compromise things like safety, right? And large companies typically have larger resources like money, and they also typically have very defined processes for nearly everything. So when you're building a product that needs to be functionally safe in all scenarios, one needs to build a system, not just the individual pieces to be fail-safe. So this takes tremendous amount of engineering resources who are all following processes and the very strict rules of building safe and redundant and reliable software. And you have to simulate that and properly validate it. So larger companies simply have the resources and knowledge of the processes and experience to make that happen. Regarding Hexagon, Hexagon is entirely focused on empowering the autonomous future. They're also very, very strong, mature, and global company with a strong presence everywhere in the world. And their product company consisting of hundreds of companies that make products. And that experience in this business is very valuable.
And then, Bobby, how can open source technologies like Autoware and ROS accelerate autonomous solution development?
The answer for that is actually really simple. It's because creating robust software is really, really hard. And I'm guessing that almost 100% of all successful autonomous driving companies that are creating applications have started with ROS at some point because of the collection of tools and libraries that they provide. It simply lowers the barrier of entry. And Autoware, you can think of it as an application layer on top of ROS, And they also provide a huge library of open source software specifically for autonomous driving, like localization, perception, prediction, and planning. All those pieces that you needed to put together an autonomous driving application, and they're available for free, and you can license them for some type of production product.
And now, Bobby, the automotive sector gets a lot of attention when we talk about autonomy, but other industries like agriculture and mining, they also benefit from autonomous solutions. So can you talk a little bit about how the topics we're covering apply to some of those other sectors?
Yeah, so absolutely. So actually mining and agriculture industries have already been in production for years, if not over a decade, and for a variety of different applications. It might be surprising to hear, but Hexagon, AutonomouStuff has been a tier 1 supplier to OEMs for many years in the mining industry and in the agriculture industry. And in some ways, these applications are much more simple. You don't have to worry about the parent pushing the stroller out in front of a 100-ton mining truck. But in some ways, they're actually much more difficult because of the environments that they operate within. So at Hexagon, our division, the autonomy and positioning division, we're taking these two very seriously, and we actually recently announced and released a couple of press releases of how seriously we are taking this. But even within these industries, these open source projects are incredibly important to lower the barrier of entry. But that doesn't mean that we're doing this too fast where we don't think about safety and simulating the environments and validating everything appropriately. You can't put anything in any place, even in the agriculture and mining industry, without making sure that it's built to be as safe as possible.
Yeah. And now a couple of final questions, Bobby. We're going to finish up a little bit early here. Can you tell us a little bit about your involvement in this year's virtual 2020 World Safety Summit?
Yeah, I think I've said it many times already in this short discussion that we've had that safety is the key to successfully deploying any type of robotic application in any type of market. Doesn't matter if you're in the automotive, which is maybe one of the most challenging areas to put in public roads, but it's incredibly important. And if I feel like my experience of enabling thousands of these customers towards autonomous driving will add some value to these discussions on the panel.
Yeah, and one final question, Bobby. What are you most looking forward to about this year's Safety Summit?
I think that Velodyne has done the industry a solid by creating this event in order to bring together these industry experts. The discussions and the presentation by the industry leaders will be valuable, I think, to anyone in the industry. And I'm very, very proud to be a part of it. And I'm certainly happy that Velodyne's taking the initiative to make this happen.
Awesome. And we're really looking forward to that panel. We have several other really interesting panels, and we're going to be releasing that information over the next few weeks. So definitely keep an eye out for that. I do want to mention that this webinar episode has been recorded, and it will be available to view on Velodyne Lidar's YouTube channel. Now, if you have any questions for Bobby or for Velodyne, there's our contact information right there on your screen. So feel free to reach out with any questions about autonomous stuff, autonomous vehicle technology, or the 2020 World Safety Summit. I want to thank Bobby again for spending his morning with us. Thank you so much, Bobby.
All right, thank you. Have a good day.
Thanks. And I want to thank our audience as well. Be sure to join in again next time for the next episode of the WSS webinar mini-series leading up to our virtual World Safety Summit on October 22nd. Our next webinar episode on October 16th will feature Oliver Cameron, co-founder and CEO at Voyage. So if you have 15 minutes to spare, we look forward to seeing you again next time. Thanks so much.